My name's Nerine Dorman. I'm a Cape Town-based author of sci-fi and fantasy, multi-award winning, and I've been involved with Horrorfest now, doing the whole literary thing for quite a while now. So recently Paul said to me, can't you do some book reviews? So yeah, I'm going to do some book reviews, and I'm a huge fan of going through the classics. I don't always have time to read physical books or ebooks because life is just hectic. So last year I started my Audible subscription, and it was like the best thing ever. When I'm doing stuff around the house, like dishes, folding away laundry and stuff, then the Audible thing has just been absolutely brilliant, because I've been able to also get into books that I wouldn't have had time to read. And one of the ones that I've kicked off my series of blog posts for Horrorfest has been Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I have a terrible admission to make. I never read Frankenstein ever when I was growing up. It's like the gothic novel. It's also something I believe straddles the line between sci-fi and horror, especially if you look at the impact that work has had on horror forms. I mean, I've lost track of how many forms had the Frankenstein's monster in. I think Penny Dreadful, the TV series, there was a character that was based on Frankenstein and his monster. The MUNSTERS, that TV series, there was Frankenstein, a nod towards it. There was also, oh gosh, I mean, there's so many movies. I don't actually think I watched many of them, to be quite honest. No, it's a terrible admission to make, but yes, I finally now listened to the audiobook that was included in my Kindle subscription. It was narrated by Dan Stevens. Some of you might have seen him in Downton Abbey. He has done a hell of a lot of audiobook narrations, and now that I've listened to the audiobook, I'm really actually tempted to go and get some of his others that he's narrated, because he's really, 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 really good. He does a lot of characterization brilliantly. I think sometimes when you listen to an audiobook, the narrator doesn't really put in all that much effort for characterization. And he does this really, really, really well. You start with the story told from the perspective of Captain Walton, who encounters Victor Frankenstein out in the North Pole, and then basically the story unfolds with Victor Frankenstein then telling the story to Captain Walton, and then later on we get the perspective of the creature. So what's brilliant about that story is you start as an observer from the outside, and then you come in and it just gets more and more involved. And I think also what makes it great is that you've got the concept of the unreliable narrator. Captain Walton doesn't know what the heck, and he sees a kindred spirit in Victor Frankenstein, but Victor Frankenstein has been the architect of his own demise. In his hubris, he's gone and created this creature, but he's also not taken responsibility for it. And when you see it from the creature side of you, the creature just wants to be loved, wants to be treated like a human being, wants to be decent, but because he's so hideous to look at, he gets rejected. And it starts him on his course of vengeance, because Victor Frankenstein, in his absolute horror and self-loathing for having created this creature, he cannot end the creature, and he cannot give the creature what he wants, which is somebody to love. And obviously it all spirals horribly wrong there. So it's a great classic. To think that Mary Shelley was like 18, I think, when she wrote the book. She was young. She was really, really young. I mean, I only wrote my first novel when I was in my early 30s, and most of my writing sucked until then. Okay, well, not really bad sucked, but to think of an 18-year-old young woman who had such an unconventional upbringing. She had parents who were quite revolutionary, and so she never had formal schooling, but she had quite a precocious talent for learning. And if you look at her language usage, looking at her ability to express the environment, her writing is outstanding. And if you look at the two great Gothic novels that often get compared cheek by jowl, the one would be Bram Stoker's Dracula, and now having listened to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I can unequivocally say that I think Mary Shelley is a better writer. and that Frankenstein is a better story. However, I will be doing the audiobook of Dracula quite soon, so we'll see how I feel about it then. Other than that, if you haven't gone down that road and looked at Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus as it's known, do yourself a favor and just give it a shot. It's something else, and it was definitely a milestone experience for me, and I will also most certainly be looking into her other works. So yeah, that wraps my book review for Horrorfest, and thank you, Paul, for this opportunity. You guys can catch me on Twitter, where I share a lot of stuff about puppies and general vibes and bookish things. So if you look me up on Twitter, I'm at Nerine Dorman. Otherwise, find me on Facebook, and yeah, until next time, take care.